Good afternoon, folks. It's Robert Chappell, Executive Editor of Madison365, with your daily update for today, August 16th. It is Monday, which means it is Metcalf's Monday. Metcalf's is a fourth generation, family owned and operated market with stores in Madison at Hilldale and behind Westtown Mall, and in Wauwatosa at 68th and State. It is back to school time. Back to school time is here, and Metcalf's has everything you need to pack those lunch boxes or a quick breakfast as kids scoot out the door. Stop by or order for pickup or delivery anytime at shopmetcalfs.com, and we appreciate their support of the update. We appreciate the ability to order online, because as we will see, there's still a pandemic on, and we're going to talk a little bit about that with some numbers today. Let me give you the good news first. The reasonably good news is that our positive test rate actually ticked back down over the weekend. You remember Friday, it had been going up sharply, right? And then about 4 days, it kind of started to slide back down, which is good. Again, this positive test rate, this is a number we want below 3%, right? This is the percentage of all the tests in the past 7 days that have come back positive. We want that to be below 3%, because that means we're testing a lot and we have not very many cases. It got all the way up to 7.1. No, it got all the way to 7.6. I'm sorry, 7.6. Then came back down to 6.9, and then went up again on Friday to 7.1. And we were like, it's going back up. Today it's back down to 6.9, right? We never want to look at that number in isolation. We want to look at that number in context of the trend. And the trend has been going up, came down a little bit, went back up a little bit. Now it's back down a little bit. So that's the one piece of good news I have for you today. Here's some bad news. Our 7-day average of new cases is now over 1,200. Today, we're reporting 669, which every Monday is a bit lower because we don't get any data over the weekend. So that's not 669 for the whole weekend. That's just 669 for today, or rather the last 24 hours, right? But we know the Monday number is always lower because there's just not as much testing or paperwork done over the weekend. But our 7-day average has pushed up to 1,201. The highest that's been in a long time. It's the highest it's been since the very beginning of February. February 3rd was the last time it was over 1,200, as far as I can tell in here. So that's not great. The other thing that I don't like is our average of daily deaths is now up to 3. Still doesn't feel like a lot. There was a time when that would have been great news, right? But we were at 1 for a long time there. So that's going up also. We report 0 new confirmed deaths yesterday and 2 new probable deaths. I don't like to count anything probable. I want confirmation, right? I'm a journalist. Don't tell me somebody probably has it. Don't tell me somebody probably died from it. Tell me what you know for sure. But they're reporting 2 new probable deaths, which are not part of the 7-day average. Okay. The other news that I don't like, and if you have any questions on any stuff, drop it in the comments. This is going to be kind of a shorter update today, just because I've got another interview lined up for 5:30. But we are now seeing 660 people hospitalized with COVID-19 infection. That's 45 more than yesterday. That's 179 more than a week ago. That's, about a 25% increase in a week. Not great. We're now at 204 in the ICU. That's 24 more than yesterday. That's a 10% increase in one day, you guys. A 10% increase in ICU occupancy with COVID-19 in one day. That's 44 more than yesterday. That's closer to 20% increase in a week in intensive care unit hospitalizations due to COVID-19. Every region, the Wisconsin Hospital Association divides the state into these regions. Every region has less than 10% of beds available right now. Now, again, it's not all because of COVID patients. It's because people just are hospitalized with surgeries and injuries and all sorts of stuff. But we don't have a lot of wiggle room right now. And we saw last fall how COVID can get out of hand very quickly. Within a week, we can go from everything's fine to, oh my gosh, we have to turn people away from the hospital. That's how fast this thing works. So it's a little concerning that we don't have a lot of room for error right now. Right? We don't have a lot of margin in the hospital systems right now. We're not overwhelming them yet. We're not in the thousands yet, right? We were at like 4,000 people hospitalized at one point last fall. So we're not there yet. However, we do know that that unvaccinated people are far more likely to be hospitalized. Almost all of these people, these 660 people who are in the hospital, are unvaccinated. And that means that the surge in infections, the surge in cases that we're seeing, it would be great if let me tell you this, it would be great, relatively, not great, but it would be much less bad if there was a big surge of cases among vaccinated people. That's what's actually happening in Iceland right now. There's like a huge surge of cases among vaccinated people. So it's no big deal. Huge surge of cases, and it's fine. Because everybody who's getting it stays home. Doesn't go to the hospital, doesn't die. They have some mild symptoms for a while. And they guess they isolate and stay away from unvaccinated people. That's not what's happening here. What's happening here is a big surge in cases among unvaccinated people, and a lot of those people are headed to the hospital, which is devastating. Even if you survive it, everybody's like, oh, it's 99% survival. Yeah, but everybody who goes to the hospital think about the financial implications. Think about losing a week of work. It's not no big deal to be in the hospital with this, right? Okay. So that is all the relatively good and bad news. How much of a hospital? Oh, this is a terrific question. How much of the hospital available bed numbers has to do with staffing as opposed to the number of actual beds? My understanding, and this is a question I should pose this question to WHA, not the public television station, WHA, the Wisconsin Hospital Association. My understanding when they do the date on the data side, and they're just reporting the available beds, they're reporting available beds. I don't think they take beds and call them unavailable because of staffing issues. I don't think. However, it is important to understand. Yes, I think Linda's right about this. I'm sorry, I should qualify this. When they're talking about medical surgical beds and intermediate care beds, they're talking about actual rooms. When you're talking about ICU and emergency departments, you're talking about beds and personnel. They could actually adjust the ICU availability based on lower staffing, because you're not necessarily talking about the number of actual beds. You're talking about the number of patients you could care for. Right? I think that's the case in ICUs and maybe emergency departments. But that's a good question. I will ask WHA. Gene asks, is there a way to get mask mandated in Wisconsin? No. Is the short answer. The Supreme Court struck that down after it was already rescinded. Right? It expired back in, was that April? You guys tell me that. Was that April that they the state allowed the current health order that was in place at that time to expire, which basically that was the only thing left of that order was the mask mandate. And they let it expire because things were fine and everybody's getting vaccinated. We were doing 16,000 vaccine shots a day. Everything looked good. And then the vaccines stopped. People stopped getting vaccinated, and that's how things got worse again. But after it was already expired, and this didn't make a lot of news because it didn't matter at the time, but the state Supreme Court struck down the mask mandate that was no longer in place anyway. So what that means now is, to your question, Gene, which is a very good question, could we have a mask mandate in Wisconsin? And the answer right now is no, because the Supreme Court already said the previous mask mandate was illegal, so the governor could not enforce a new one. The only way that could happen, perhaps, is if the governor and the legislature jointly put it in place and nobody sued each other over it. Right? If anybody goes to court, the court has spoken. If they can manage to do it and keep it out of court, then it's possible. I don't see that happen. What we really need is everybody to get vaccinated. And a lot of private businesses are making that happen by making it just really inconvenient not to be vaccinated. So we're going to take a short pause. I got a couple more things to mention to you. We're going to take a short break. We'll be back right after this. Don't go away. I just need 30 seconds. Then we got some really good news to tell you about for the rest of the afternoon. So stay right here. We'll be right back.
I wasn't sure if it was the right time.
Then I heard about the College Try.
You take classes for 7 days, see if it works for you.
No obligation, no worries. I kept going. I'm so glad I did.
I wanted to do online classes, but I didn't have a computer. Then Madison College hooked me up.
You can borrow a college laptop and a Wi-Fi hotspot.
Seriously.
My dad always says, give it the old college try.
For real. Give Madison College the college try.
Try Madison College risk-free for 7 days.
No commitment.
Just try it.
Like a free trial for college.
Like, why wouldn't you?
Why wouldn't you?
Why wouldn't you?
All right, thanks for sticking with us. On the website today, Madison365.org, we have some really fun stories. For example, Bronzeville Collective is a maker space. It's a retail space in Milwaukee in the Bronzeville neighborhood. It was created by these 4 Black women, 3 of which are pictured here because the other one's taking the picture. And it's these women who went to these summer festivals, art shows with their jewelry and all the stuff they're making, and they started to team up and share booth space and stuff. And then they realized, why don't we just share a retail space? So they ended up doing this retail space. It's got 30 vendors, all different kinds, and really just supporting Black-owned small businesses. Really cool story from Angelica Usery on the site today, Madison365.org. Also today, this is an artist rendering of the Center for Black Culture and Excellence. For Black Excellence and Culture. I said it backwards. This is going to open in 2 years. And the county has already dedicated some money to it. And the fundraising committee now is going to try to raise the first $50,000 to fund this thing from Black folks. And what they're going to do is, if you make a donation, your name will go on a plaque and be part of the building. Now, there's a lot of places in Madison where people give money and there's a brick on the floor, or there's a plaque on the wall, and there's names on it. Those names of those philanthropic things are almost all white people, right? So within the Center for Black Excellence and Culture, it's going to be Black people. So white people, keep your money for now, unless you're going to give it in the name of a Black person, right? They don't want that right now. They want the Lalata G. If you're in Madison, you know who Lalata G is. She's the chair of the fundraising committee. And she said, it doesn't matter if you live in Madison or Wisconsin or anywhere else in the world. We want the Black people's green dollars. That's what she said to me. So they're trying to get $50,000 in the door by by the middle of October. So about 2 months. I'm going to check and see. They just launched this morning. So I'm going to take a look real quick and see if they've, what they've done, if they've raised anything yet. But we're going to let this run for a couple of weeks. We're going to have Lilata on to come talk about it. And give us an update probably in a couple of weeks. And it looks like they've got $1,000 in so far. So they need a lot more. So go, if you're Black, or if you want to give them in the name of a Black person, you can go to I'll just drop the link in the comments there, and you can participate and support the Center for Black Excellence and Culture. And finally today, Dane County Sheriff Calvin Barrett announced today that in the Sheriff's Department of Dane County, people in the jail will no longer be referred to as inmates. Calvin Barrett, the sheriff, finds that language dehumanizing and is now going to refer to Dane County Jail residents. And that's important, I think. The state talked with Kevin Carr for a story a couple of weeks ago. He's the State Department of Corrections secretary, and he talked about people in our care. Right? We have a custody, and someone in custody. You are the custodian of that person. So that's how Calvin Bears can think about it. I'm going to try to have him on the show also. I got some questions about this. Like, are deputies bought in? Are deputies going to use this language, or is it actually going to change anything? I'm still regularly in touch with a resident whose hip was broken, and he was left in a cell for 15 hours before being taken to the hospital. Is this language change going to help that kind of situation or not? In the long run, probably. Now we talk about people with disabilities rather than disabled people, right? And that's an important change. It's been an important shift over the past 20 years. So this is the kind of thing that can cause and create a cultural shift. But is it enough? Is it fast enough? What else needs to happen? So anyway, that story is also on Madison365.org. That press conference took place this morning. Our editor, Dave Dahmer, was there and has that story again on the website, Madison365.org. And that is what I have for you today. I appreciate your attention. It's a beautiful night out. I hope you get out, take a walk, get outside. If you go inside anywhere, put a mask on. It's really that simple. And we'll all take good care of each other. All right. Have a great night. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
This is 365 Media.